Hello and welcome. This is your Saturday News. I'm your host, Keith Lander, coming to you out of the Tabernacle Baptist Church, Dayton, Ohio. And with me today, I have a special guest, Montgomery County Recorder, Brandon McLean. Thank you for having you on the show, Brandon.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Keith. Thank you.
Now, Brandon, you're the recorder, and congratulations on your re-election bid from yesterday. You're the recorder. What are the responsibilities of the recorder?
Well, statutorily, I am your chief elected official that's responsible for the safekeeping of any documents that pertain to ownership of real estate. I'm also the overseer for approximately 50,000 veterans, individuals who were released from military service. That's my statutory duty. That is my role. However, the most important role that we all occupy is that as a concerned citizen. As a concerned citizen, I believe that we have to extend past our statutory duties, and I try to do that every day that I'm in our community because that's what we need to improve it.
Now, you implemented a veteran identification card program. Can you explain in detail what that is?
Yes. So I'm a veteran. For those of you watching, I'm sure many of you are veterans. If you're not a veteran, you know someone who is. My veteran identification card program is about veterans serving veterans. I'm a veteran. We have so many veterans throughout our community, and what this program does is it connects veterans to earned benefits. It breaks down some of the barriers that have separated those veterans from benefits concerning health care, for benefits concerning discounts, for benefits concerning student credit service hours, and also for other types of benefits. It's a very powerful program. It also doubles up as a state-issued identification card, which means that our veterans who have this free complimentary card can use it for access to the polls.
Okay, so if people wanted to get one of those cards, do they just come down to your office? Is there a form to fill out, or you just, how's that work?
Yes, so we actually issue these veteran identification cards every single day that we are open. I implemented this program in 2018. I am very proud to say that we've issued in excess of 2,000 cards thus far to veterans throughout the Montgomery County, Miami Valley region. To obtain a card, you would need to bring a copy of your DD-214 down to my office. We would record it. I tell people I'll take care of your DD-214 the same way I take care of my own, because mine is also recorded at my office. You would bring a copy of your DD-214. We would record it. You also need 2 forms of identification, and then at that point in time, we would actually issue you a state-issued veteran identification card. We also would include a copy of different store discounts, businesses throughout the Montgomery County area that will offer you, as a veteran who has the identification card, a list of services, benefits, and values for your service to our country.
That's good. And your office is located at 451 West 3rd Street, Dayton, Ohio. That's across the street from St. Clair on 3rd Street. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Specifically, I'm on the 5th floor.
Okay.
5th floor of the county administration building.
Okay, so all you veterans, get there, get that card, because I think that's got a lot of value to it. You know what I mean? And thank you for implementing that program, and thank you for your service. Also, you said you came up with a fraud alert notification system.
Yes.
From your office. Can you explain that?
Yes, absolutely. So prior to becoming the Montgomery County Recorder, I served as a magistrate and acting judge in Dayton Municipal Court. I'm an attorney by trade. As an attorney and a member of the judiciary, I had the occasion to encounter individuals within our community, our neighbors, who had been victims of property deed fraud. This is something that I began to see extensively while I was a member of the court, serving in Dayton Municipal Court. I believe it was 2017. I began to start seeing this. I would have individuals who would come in front of me for housing cases. I believe they were more or less eviction cases, landlords, property owners, and at the conclusion of the case, I would end up dismissing or ruling against them because they didn't have standing because they were not the owner. After the first time, I said, okay, maybe this is something that they didn't properly go through the steps to actually have the property transferred into their name. After it began happening more than once, I said, there's something else here. I actually had reached out to my predecessor, Willis E. Blackshear Sr., about the circumstance. And then when I became the recorder, this was something that I worked toward trying to resolve. I implemented this system. It is complimentary for all of our property owners throughout Montgomery County. Registration takes less than 2 minutes. You can actually sign up for the complimentary program at my website, www.mcrecorder.com. fraudalert.org. If you look to the left side of the tabs, you'll see where it says FAN system, which stands for Fraud Alert Notification System. You would sign up and you would receive an alert or notification anytime there was a transaction that occurred that related to your property. This becomes very important, as we know, because you have individuals who could potentially try to put a lien on your property. And then on the rare occasion, you have circumstances where someone could potentially try to defraud you. We have already seen benefits pay off from this program. I'm proud to say we have already, through this program, had individuals be indicted, and we've had people's property interests be restored back to them. We have thus far signed up several thousand residents throughout Montgomery County, property owners that we currently oversee their interests, and I take great pride in that because aside from your soul, your property interests are one of the greatest reflectors of the time you spent on this earth. And so it's very important that you take heed and make sure that you do everything you can to protect your property, because as what we've seen from property deed fraud cases is that either time is your best friend or your worst enemy.
Yeah.
Because when we look at time, time either dictates the distance between an offense and the victim, or the offense and the perpetrator, or it's a situation where if it's been too much time, the person who committed the offense could be gone in the wind. And so we want to make sure that we have as much time as possible to assist law enforcement in gathering information, gathering evidence, and making sure that we protect every property owner. And if there is a victim, we restore them back to wholeness.
I think that's a good program, and hopefully people take advantage of that and get down to your office if you want to seek out more information on that program. I think it's valuable and it protects a lot of people. Now, there's two topics in this country that is running rampant. One is voting and the other is coronavirus. I'm not going to ask you about the coronavirus. I will ask you about the voting because the votes are over, the polls are closed, the votes are in. Now, since everybody's voted, after the vote, what would you recommend people do after the vote?
That's a loaded question, and I'm going to offer a small caveat before I proceed forward to my answer. 100% of elections are determined by those individuals who show up. Your voice is your vote. Do not allow it to be silenced. So often we have people who are in our midst, friend, neighbor, relative, who complain or suggest the notion that their vote doesn't matter. We actually currently are in the midst of the political process, the election playing out right before our eyes. We should know now more than ever that every single vote matters. 2016, the election was decided by less than 80,000 votes that span across 3 states. Here locally, we've had elections be decided by less than a dozen votes, less than a handful of votes. Each and every single vote matters, and because they all matter, that means that every single election you have to vote. Voting or being a part of the political process cannot be a game of occasion or something that you do routinely. It has to be something that you do consistently, because change does not happen overnight. It does not happen overnight. And so the answer to your question, what's next? We're going to be waiting on the presidential elections, and God willing, we will have a president that reflects our values, that reflects our beliefs, that reflect our vision of the type of community and country that we deserve.
Yeah, I agree. Voting is important. I was voting.
Voting is so important.
Yeah.
However, there is an election every 6 months. And this is something that falls on deaf ears so often. There's an election every 6 months. Every 6 months, there are decisions that are going to be lined up that's going to affect your everyday way of life. Because here in the United States, you're going to vote on candidates and you're going to vote on issues. And if you are not, as my grandfather used to say, if you're not sitting at the table, you're on the menu.
Yeah,
Don't be on the menu. Make sure that you sit down at the table, become educated on the issues, and cast a vote that reflects the type of vision and perspective that you want for your community.
Yeah. Now, I understand you served as a magistrate, you served as a judge, and
Yes.
The big topic in the news a few months ago was the Breonna Taylor decision, how it was handled by the grand jury and the Attorney General at that time.
Yes.
Can you explain that process? I don't think a lot of people understand how that grand jury, how it operates, and what the Attorney General gives to grand jury to preside over. Can you explain just a little bit of that, how that grand jury process works?
Yes, absolutely. So a grand jury is going to be a tribunal that's going to be assembled, that's going to be either 12 to 23 citizens. The grand jury is going to be embodied, if you will, by either a prosecutor or by an attorney general. And the way the grand jury process works is that a prosecutor or an attorney general is going to present the evidence that they find or believe to be sufficient to establish whether there is enough evidence for charges to be filed in a matter criminally. So I want you to pay close attention to a couple things that I said. The first one being the fact is that the prosecutor or the attorney general has the discretion to present factual evidence to the grand jury for the grand jury to make a determination. That becomes very important when we consider that here recently, and even in the past, there have been times when a grand jury was not presented with key and vital information to make an informed decision about charges.
See, there lays the problem. There should be some grand jury reform going on. You know what I mean? But we'll get to that and discuss that topic a little bit more in detail when I have you back on the show. But
Okay.
the other topic talking about reform is I was reading some stuff on the ACLU, and they were talking about not grand jury, the bail reform.
Yes.
And I talked to you about bail reform over the phone, and explain to people what that bail reform, what that looks like, and what it is.
So with bail reform, essentially we are talking about the process that determines a bail amount for an individual who's been accused of a criminal offense. Bail under the Constitution is supposed to be reasonable, and statutorily under the law, it is also supposed to be in purpose to ascertain the appearance of a defendant back to court. So bail is only supposed to be there to make sure folks return back to court. It's not supposed to be there to punish. And obviously we are living in the midst of times where we have seen time and time again where we have individuals who, because they have less resources financially, they are put in a situation where they are at higher risk to have to plead guilty to offenses to obtain their freedom, as opposed to be a part of a meaningful criminal justice process. And so when we talk about what bail reform means, we are talking about the ability for individuals who stand accused to actually get the full benefit and weight of their constitutional rights and be able to actually see a case out if they so chose. That is what we're talking about with bail reform. We're talking about a system that appropriately balances the safety and security of the public versus an individual not to be punished because they are poor or have less financial resources. As a member of the court, I have assessed bond for individuals, bail for individuals, and I believe that this is a situation where there is no, as they say, one size fits all. Every single individual is different, every situation is different, and it's time that we have individuals who assess the individuality of every individual situation to make sure that the situation and the bond that is set to establish it matches up with the circumstances. We have situations that we've seen here in the past where you may have individuals who have excessive bonds that prevent them from being released when they possibly should be released. Well, that becomes problematic because, as we know, for those of you who may live paycheck to paycheck, or may have less financial resources, or may have children and other responsibilities that you have to oversee, as we all do, missing 1, 2, 3 days out of your everyday life, or missing 1, 2, 3 days from a paycheck is so destructive when you talk about trying to have a balanced and sustainable way of life. Yeah. And so what bail reform does is make sure that everyone receives a fair shake.
Now, when people put up bail, do they get their money back when the person shows up to court, or is that money just gone?
Well, that is a loaded question because every bail bondsman has different terms. Generally speaking, a portion of that money can be given back. It also can be directed to court costs and other types of fees, or we even see situations where an individual does not show up to court or maybe absconds or misses a court appearance, at that point in time, that money that was paid to the court would be forfeited.
Okay. Hey, and now I know the city of Dayton has a police reform, and
Yes.
they got 4 committees. I know you're on the oversight committee. You're the chair of the oversight committee.
Yes.
Can you give us an update of where your oversight reform committee is what they're doing? Update on that police reform?
Yes,
with the
absolutely.
city?
Absolutely. So I am one of the chairmen of the Oversight Police Reform Committee. I'm chairperson along with Commissioner Matt Joseph of the city of Dayton. We have approximately 25 people on our police reform group, and I'm proud to say here recently we just released 17 recommendations that were forwarded to the city commission to determine if they're going to implement. These recommendations prioritize the safety of our community, the safety of our citizens, and also law enforcement officers. They do that by increasing transparency and accessibility, because as we know in the oversight complaint process, you want to make sure that every individual has fair access to the system if they want to make a complaint or if they want to be heard. And that's what all of these recommendations do. We know that because they do that, it also increases safety as well. So I'm very proud of that work.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the mayor and the city commissioners and all those officials who had a hand in getting these that police reform groups together. I'm looking forward to some good things coming out of there. When I say good things, I'm talking about good things for the citizens and the police, so we can get a working relationship together. Because there's some bad cops, but overall, there's more good cops out there protecting and serving than the 1 or 2 that do some misguided behaviors.
Yes.
So. Well, we're going to close. Thank you, Brandon, for showing up. I tell the politicians when they come, we're going after this coronavirus is gone, we're going to have a really big show. We're going to fill this stage up with folks, and whether you got a D in the end of your name, or R, or I, whichever. If you're an elected official, we're going to invite you down and tell the people what you're doing for the people, of the people, and by the people.
Absolutely.
We don't want to hear what your opponent is doing. We want to hear what you're doing.
Yes.
So we're going to fill this stage as soon as this virus leaves this town, and hopefully you'll be a part of that.
Absolutely. Well, obviously from this show, and we've known each other before, I don't think you'll ever find anyone who says I'm a man who's short on words. So I'll make sure I save some for that show.
That's good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, y'all know what time it is. It's time for the scam alert. Scam alert. So on this episode of the scam alert, what is happening is it's a banking scam. And what the scammers are doing is they're copying and getting into people's bank accounts. Now, not all the way into the bank accounts, they get part of it. And what they do is they call you and they claim to be from the fraud division of the bank that you deal with. And so when they call you, and they may even it may look like it's coming from the bank you deal with. It may even look like it's the phone number from the bank you deal with. It may even look like they got either some identifications numbers that you deal with from the bank. But when that call come in and they say they from the fraud division, I suggest you hang that phone up and then you call the bank yourself and ask for the fraud division to see if they called you, because these people are trying to get information, more information. They got a little bit, but they want more so they can tap into your account and drain all your money out. See, what they are is they got just enough, but they need some more from you, more information to get that, and that's their objective, is to drain your bank account. So if you get a call from your bank and it's from the fraud division, or if you get an email and said it's from the bank from the fraud division, call the bank yourself. Don't return that email, don't return that phone call. Call the bank yourself. There's a video posted up on Facebook where a young lady, she's describing what happened to her. It happened to her. What tipped her off is that the fraud person, the scammer on the phone, said that she had purchased something out of another state, and this woman's never been in that state, and that tipped her off. Otherwise, she would have got took. It tipped her off, and she said, "Oh, wait a minute. Let me call you back." And she hung up, and then she called the bank, and the bank said, "No, we never called you from the fraud division." So I'm telling you, these people, they're getting more sophisticated, they're getting clever, they're getting slick. And if you get that call or get that email or do not respond, call your bank to make sure that it is actually the fraud department. Otherwise, these people will empty out your bank account and whatever else money they can get a hold of. So pass that word around.
Call on my direct line from the bank's fraud department. They said there's been fraudulent activity on your business account, which really concerned me. But the bank said, don't worry, we've blocked your account and we're going to refund the money. And because your account's been compromised, we're going to send you a welcome pack and the card reader's on its way. Just need to confirm your security details. Well, obviously, I looked at my phone and the number matched exactly with the number of our bank. And the man was very calm, professional, convincing. I didn't realise that these spoofing apps were used for prank calls by kids, and it disguises the genuine number. The fraudster emptied our business account overnight. We lost thousands. I couldn't sleep. I thought I was going to lose my job and where he was going to employ me at my age. I should have made sure what the current scams are. In my position, I should have known. I should never have divulged our security details. If only I'd phoned the bank back on the real customer service number, I could have verified if the call was genuine.
Okay, so the next story is Kroger's. Kroger's is going to offer antibody testing at their pharmacies. And what that means is that Kroger's will start antibody testing for anybody who believe they have come in contact with anybody who have the coronavirus. And the way that it started already, and I think coming in November, by the end of November, it should be in all of Kroger's pharmacies where you can go and take this test. The test will cost you $25. You'll get the results in 15 minutes, and it'll let you know whether or not you have been infected with the COVID-19 or not. And so that's a good thing, folks. So I suggest, and I may go to Kroger's after this thing comes to town and take this antibody test, because the more people get tested and you find out whether or not you have the virus or not, the better they can get control of this thing, you know. And also with that coronavirus, as it relates to contract tracing, if you get a call from somebody who's saying they're contract tracing for the coronavirus, this is part of the scam also. These people do not ask you for any monies or any card or anything like that. That's another scam. If you get a call from somebody who said they're contract tracing and you may have come in contact with somebody who has the virus, do not give these people no information as far as monies or anything like that. They don't do that. So hang up the phone if you get that call. So that's on the coronavirus. This thing, these people, they will scam anybody. I think they will take the teeth out of the dead body if they can pull them out. Other news that's happening, there's a job opportunity center which is opening up in Westtown. Montgomery County, if you remember, had deemed racism as a health crisis. And they have this unemployment opportunity center, which is going up in Westtown at the old Aldi's grocery store spot. It's not up and running yet, but this is going to be a fantastic facility. In this facility, it'll be a unemployment opportunity center that will service job seekers and space for youth mentorship program. So for West Dayton and I guess surrounding area. In June, like I said, Montgomery County declared racism a public health crisis and announced efforts including a new center to help improve conditions and lead to desperate outcomes for minority communities. And so, that's a good program. The center will provide employment services as well as host a male leadership academy, mentorship programs for young folks 14 to 16 years old. It also will have a female leadership academy, and also in this thing it'll have some community rooms for people to use. And so I think this will be an asset to the community. It'll be a plus for the community because it'll help people, if you're unemployed, it'll help you with your resume writing, it'll help you with your interview skills, mentorship. If folks want to drop off your kid there and get some mentorship, that'll be there because our youth is our future. And, as they say, it takes a village. It definitely takes a village, and we're that village. So I want to thank the commissioners. I want to thank the county administrator, Michael Corbin, for putting this thing together and responding in a manner which will be beneficial to the people here in this city. The other story, now y'all need to listen to this here. I got to put my glasses on for this one because I don't want to misrepresent it. This is the headlines. The new UDSA ruling allows for chickens to be produced from diseased birds. Now, you know a chicken's a bird, so actually, diseased chickens is going to be intermixed with the regular chickens and be produced and sold to the market to the general public. Now, what these chickens have, they got a disease that's cancer causing on the chickens. And what the poultry industry has come up with, they're going to grab the chickens that have the disease, cut the disease part off, and then just continue on with the rest of the chicken. So if a chicken got the disease on the leg, they're going to chop the leg off, and they're going to sell us the rest of the chicken. Now, I can tell you this. If that chicken has cancer lesions on them, that chicken need to be thrown away. It shouldn't be put out on the market for people to eat just because you chop off half of it. But that's what the new ruling is. This thing was passed when President Trump passed the Production Act due to the coronavirus. They stripped away the restrictions. It used to be when these chickens come through the farm, they was thrown out, they wasn't used. But when that Production Act came in, it affected the poultry. And the poultry now farms can utilize these cancer-ridden chickens to be sold on the market. And if you don't believe me, you can look it up. I didn't make this stuff up. Here's the article, folks. I ain't make it up. Somebody sent me the link, and I couldn't believe it. And I may have to reduce my chicken consumption and go to a whole food consumption. I mean, this is serious, folks. I mean, I can guarantee you in the future, chicken prices will go down. They'll be so cheap because they have to sell these chickens now that they done chopped off the disease part, and they're going to sell you chicken parts. You know, the other leg is good, the other breast is good, the other thigh is good. That's where we are. We're at the point where chicken farmers can intermix diseased chickens with the good chickens, chop off the part, and then sell them to the public. Now, if you got some issues with that, contact your congressman and let them know, hey, we don't need to be selling diseased chickens, right? So that's interesting, folks. Look that up. It's all there. We got the Burkhart Library. The Burkhart Library is, they'll be breaking ground on that pretty soon. The Burkhart Library is going to be, I think, the last library to be renovated, and it'll be right across the street from the library that's on Burkhart now. And this library is going to be, it's going to be really nice. It's going to be twice as big as the old library. They had some focus groups, and they got the input from the community of what they wanted in this library. And they'll have a children's area. They'll have conference rooms. They'll have many books and computers for people to enjoy. I give all the credit in the world to the Dayton Montgomery County Library and those who had a hand in rebuilding all these libraries. Man, it's very appreciative. People utilize the library. I go to the one on Philadelphia, Northwest Library. I'm up there probably once a week, and I see a lot of people enjoying it. It's spread out. We're not all on top of each other due to the virus. And that Burkhart Library is, I think it's going to be an asset to the community. And hopefully when they break ground, not only on the Burkhart Library, but when they start building the library over to West Dayton, you know, we'll give you an update on that. So congratulations, folks out in the Burkhart area. That library will be there, and I think you're going to enjoy it, and I may go over there and enjoy it with you. The other story I have, if you see the Dayton Power and Light has invested $249 million, which they invested from a settlement, and what they plan to do with that $249 billion is put up these smart meters in West Dayton and more other areas, like they promised. Now, these smart meters, I guess they're meters which you can, you don't have to go in your house and read your water meter no more. They just come by. They're going to read your DP&L from a more sophisticated way. So if you're in the area, they're going to start at West Dayton. I don't know what area in West Dayton put all these smart meters up. You'll see DP&L trucks out there, and you say, hey, what the DP&L man doing? They're not cutting off your power and light, not unless you didn't pay your bill. But they're putting up these smart meters, and it's a heck of an investment for West Dayton to have these smart meters. And some of these meters were tore up due to the tornadoes that came through. And I want to thank DPNL for putting, that money into that system. I got one more story, and I always like success stories. And this story here, and you can look it up. It's the title says "From Welfare and Food Stamps to Becoming the First of 21 Children to Graduate from College." And the story details the person's name is Paul Lamar Hunter. Now, he's an author of a book titled "No Love, No Charity: The Success of 19 Children of 21 to Go to College." And his upbringing, these people, his upbringing and his mother, they were pretty poor, but they did what they had to do to make ends meet. Now, as Mr. Hunter states in the article, he wasn't a good student in high school, and he went to college and went to trade school, and he decided, to go on and further his education. You talking about a family. Let me tell you about this family. His mother, she had 21 children. She had 63 grandchildren and 87 great-grandchildren. So, that's a big family reunion, you know what I mean? But this guy, he persevered. He said he ate a lot of beans and cornbread and a lot of Roman noodles. I can get with the beans and cornbread, but the noodles, But anyway, this is a success. It's not how you start. It's how you finish and what you do. And I'll say it and I'll say it again. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get up.
21 natural children,
Extremely.
17 of us living today, 63 grandchildren, and 86 great-grandchildren. And growing up in that huge family.
Because Mr. Hunter and his family, they had food stamps. They was on welfare. They didn't have the fancy clothes. They made do with what they had. He was the first one to go to college, and he said there was times that the food was scarce, but in his mind, he had to be successful to show the other siblings, and that's what he did. So I suggest you look up his story. You can find a copy of his book. I'll give you the title again. It's called the author of No Love, No Charity: The Success of the 19th Child of the 21st Children. So you can look that book up, read it. It's motivation. If he can do it, you can do it. That's what success is. Success is in the mind. The only person stopping you from succeeding is yourself. So succeed. And if you get knocked down, that's the way of life. You get back up. If you get knocked down, you get back up. And pretty soon, you won't be getting knocked down anymore. You will be successful. Life is tough. Life is not fair. But life is what you make it. If you want to be successful, you will be successful. Will it be a tough road? Oh, yeah. If it wasn't tough, everybody would be successful. Not unless you're born in wealth. But you got to put some skin in the game. You got to put some effort in the game. No more excuses. Come on with the solutions. No more excuses. Come on with the solutions. Because if this man can do it, going from eating cornbread and beans and welfare and hand-me-down clothes, you can too. So I'm going to close with that. And I want to thank some people. I know they probably get on me for doing this, but I'm going to thank them. I want to thank Pastor Delicon at this church. He's a beautiful pastor. I also want to thank Kurt, and I also want to thank Dr. Michelle. Because if it had not God has connected us together, I wouldn't be here. So I want to publicly thank those people for allowing me to do this show. Because, like I said, without God bringing us together, I probably wouldn't be here. So thank y'all. And to the rest of you, as I always say, there's never an ending. There's always a continuation. And may God bless you and your family.